I think I'm live, and I saw the first error there, VLC Media Player Update, ruining the show already. I hope you guys have your drinks ready to drink every time I make a mistake, because it's been a while since I've done this. I'm trying to remember every little detail of what I need to do to keep this show rolling, and I'm having trouble doing that. And I also just realized that my internet upload speed is at 5 megabits per second. I got a warning right before hitting go live. Got a problem with Puerto Rican internet, and so I changed my bit rate to low. So hopefully we will not have buffering problems, but you never know. It has been a while. I have missed you guys. Santogri left a super chat before even starting 2 hours ago, 2.5 hours ago, and says, can't be there for the live show, but thanks for doing the show again. Thank you very much. As you guys know, I'm here by myself still. I am unable to keep up with running the show, having opinions, talking, reading all the comments. So I'll do my best to keep up with the super chats. Occasionally I'll come in and check on them, but I'm unable to look at the chats while I have everything else pulled up here. A lot has happened since our last coronavirus episode, and I don't even know where to begin. I mean, I've got a few clips from things that have happened in the past. Most of the clips that I have today to talk about are a little bit more up to date, you know, grabbed from the last 3 days or whatever. Let's start out with a quick video clip that just kind of talks about where we were in the last few days, because we've hit a new milestone here in the United States.
This morning, the U.S. hitting another grim milestone, surpassing 5 million reported cases of COVID-19. Here in Sturgis, South Dakota, the small city of 7,000 is hosting the largest motorcycle rally in the world, possibly becoming one of the biggest public gatherings since the pandemic picked up in March. Hundreds of thousands are expected to roll through during the 10-day rally. Masks are encouraged but not required, keeping with state guidelines.
On whether our employees wear masks or not, we provided them all with masks, and some of them choose to wear them, some of them don't.
You get the idea. So we have now surpassed 5 million cases in the United States, and then a huge portion of the United States either does not believe that the virus is real. I have met and communicated with so many people who either think the virus isn't real at all, or I've heard China has released the virus, so it is real, but China released the virus simply so that Trump wouldn't win the election. I've heard that the virus is real, but the Democrats are exaggerating everything. And I believe there's some truth in that. But, you know, they're acting like this wouldn't even be a big deal at all if there was a Democrat in office rather than Trump, which I personally don't believe. What else have I heard? I've got some friends who still believe it's 5G. So 5G towers that are only in a few places in the world, I guess, started the virus, and then this 5G sickness is somehow contagious. Haven't really figured that one out. And then there's a lot of people who believe it's real but just aren't worried about it. And maybe I am in that camp now. Maybe that's a horrible camp to be in. But, you know, I was having trouble with the lockdown 3-4 months ago, where I was like, you got to live your life eventually. You know, you take risks every single day. I think with my age, I don't think this is going to be a fatal decision for me. You know, potentially driving in a car might be more dangerous for my health than this. I don't know. But I have met a lot of people, including much older people, who would be in that danger group, who just do not care at all and will almost like actively try not to wear a mask in public just to prove a point or something. I don't fall in that camp, but I definitely fall in the camp of like, all right, I got to get back to living my life. So I think very soon I'm going to go back to jiu-jitsu class, but I am tired of staying inside. Here's a little bit of news. This happened, I don't know how long ago, a few weeks ago. Herman Cain died. This is just a quick clip here.
With sad news, and that is that Herman Cain, longtime businessman, former CEO of Godfather Pizza, and of course, Republican presidential candidate in 2012, in the 2012 race, has died at the age of 74. His death confirmed by his Twitter account. We should note that he was diagnosed with COVID following his attendance, and that is a picture there, at a Trump campaign rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a couple of weeks back. This just confirmed by Herman Cain's own Twitter account the death of the longtime businessman as well as Republican presidential candidate Herman Cain.
So there's a big debate, or there has been a big debate. Surprisingly, I don't really hear anyone talking about Herman Cain anymore. I figured it would be a bigger deal for longer. But I really thought the left would pile on with this, you know, Herman Cain caught it at the Trump rally, we told you so type thing. And you could see in that CNN clip, they mentioned it, that he tested positive after the event, but not directly after the event. No one will ever know for sure if he got it at the event or not. But I don't know what to think. I mean, it seems like there's a very good chance he got it at that event. If there were thousands of people at that event and nobody was wearing a mask, and I'm sure he was shaking hands because he's a famous dude, it's like, I don't know what else he's doing in everyday life, but that seems like a very dangerous event. I don't know. I don't know. So the other thing that's been going on still that I don't have any clips about, which never in a million years would I think the argument would still be going on, is the debate with hydroxychloroquine and if this malaria medicine partnered with zinc is actually helpful or not for the coronavirus. And I probably should have gotten clips of this doctor who claims, people are claiming she's a witch doctor and she believes in, like, if you have ailments, it's because you're having sex with demons and witches in your sleep. She believes that hydroxychloroquine works, but people against her are saying that she's hardly a real doctor if she believes in all this voodoo stuff. And then she doesn't really work in a hospital. She works in a small clinic, and the people she's seeing aren't that sick to begin with. So she wouldn't have seen anybody who would have died anyway, is the argument against her. But at the same time, I have seen many and listened to many other doctors talk about how either they still believe that there is a chance that it could be helpful, or at the very least, it can't possibly hurt. So you might as well give it to people. And then I've heard some other people say, well, it is hurting because people who actually need the medication for other issues can't get it because it's sold out everywhere. I don't know what the truth is, and it's so strange that I even know the name of this medication. It's very, very strange. Leonard says, the Oklahoma governor also tested positive for COVID-19 after the Tulsa rally. I did not know that. That's really interesting. So, I don't know, maybe that, I don't know if the governor has come out and said that they believe that they've gotten it at the Tulsa rally, or if it's just another thing like, no, I'm out hanging out with people every single day, and it could have been that, but we'll never know for sure. But that is interesting. And when did that information come out? Because I don't recall hearing anything about that. Now, keep in mind, guys, when we were doing this coronavirus journal thing months ago, all day, every day, I was just consuming news. And now I try to consume almost no news. If it finds me, I will consume it, but I'm not actively looking for it anymore. So I did like 2 hours of research before this show just to kind of cover my bases and the stuff that we haven't talked about since the last episode. So I'm sure I am not as up to date as I used to be. Let's see what is next. Maybe I should just go to this Trump interview. This is a wild interview that HBO did with Trump. It's in the thumbnail for this video. Just for all of you super Trump fans who get your feelings hurt, I am going to be critical of Trump and some of these things that he says here, and then I'm going to be critical of people on the left in upcoming videos. I'm going to try to be fair and hate on everyone equally. But this interview is just so insane. Now, I found a edited version so that we could more quickly get through this because it's a pretty long interview. And these are some of the highlights. I did watch the original interview, and although the editing on this seems unfair, I invite you to go watch the full interview. Trump really does respond to these questions in the way that you will see in this video. It appears to be edited unfairly, but I really do not think it is. So let's get to the insanity.
They really understand it. They said it's incredible, the job that we've done. And again,
so I'm going to have to stop this and talk a lot as we go. But this guy starts off the interview by saying, like, hey, you know, we're supposed to be the leaders of the world here, and we're doing a horrible job with the virus. 1,000 people a day are dying, 150,000 people are dead, 5 million cases. Like, how can you say that everything's under control? And Trump starts going into, like, people call me all the time and tell us how great of a job we're doing. And this interviewer does a great job of not just letting Trump get away with these crazy statements. And it's wildly entertaining to watch this. It's so crazy to me, the answers that Trump tries to put out.
Who says that? Like, by the time you banned China, it came in through Europe.
Nobody knew the extent. Nobody knew how contagious it was.
But the question is, Mr. President,
maybe China knew.
By June, we knew things were bad. And, you know, the last time I was with you was the day before your Tulsa rally in the Oval. And, you know, you were saying big, huge crowd, it was indoors.
By the way,
these people, they listen to you.
Excuse me, John.
Yeah.
We had a tremendous...
Okay, so just to preface this guy's basically saying, like, why aren't you telling your fan base that you should wear a mask and that this is serious and that it's not under control, but with all of our help we can be under control. But for your Tulsa rally that we just talked about with Herman Cain's death, you acted like no one needs to wear a mask and we do have it under control. Why wouldn't you tell your base to take it a little bit more seriously? And this is his response.
Crowd, we had tremendous response. You couldn't even, it was like an armed camp. You couldn't even get through. You couldn't get anybody in.
But
we had 12,000 people. It was incorrectly reported. The other thing we had that nobody wants to talk about, that speech was the highest rated speech in the history of Fox Television.
I can't believe these are his answers. Why wouldn't you tell your base that they need to take this more seriously? What they're not reporting is that it was the highest ratings of any speech in Fox News' history. And thankfully, this reporter, you can just see the pain on his face. It's probably similar to my facial expression right now. It's like, that's not what I'm asking.
On Saturday night, and nobody says that.
I think you misunderstand me. I'm not criticizing your ability to draw a crowd. Are you kidding me? I've covered you for 5 years. You draw massive crowds, you get huge ratings. I'm asking about the public health.
And I canceled another one. I had to cancel it.
Right.
We're going to have a great crowd in New Hampshire.
Here's the question. You know, I've covered you for a long time. I've gone to your rallies. I've talked to your people. They love you. They listen to you. They listen to every word you say. They hang on your every word. They don't listen to me or the media or Fauci. They think we're fake news. They want to get their advice from you.
This guy, I feel like this reporter, it's like the stuff you did when you were kids. It's like you try to butter up a kid to do what you want him to do. Like, hey, I need you to go do this thing none of us want to do. It's like, you're the bravest. You're the only one brave enough to do that. I'm too afraid to do it, but I know you're brave enough to do it. And he is buttering Trump. Yeah, everyone loves you. I get it.
And so when they hear you say everything's under control, don't worry about wearing masks, I mean, these are people, many of them are older people,
What's
Mr.
your
President.
definition of control? Yeah, under the
It's giving them a false sense of
right
security.
now, I think it's under control. I'll tell you what.
How? 1,000 Americans are dying a day.
They are dying. That's true. And it is what it is. It should have been stopped by China, and it wasn't.
But now it's here,
We
and
have
you're the
it
president.
here. The testing. We have tested more people than any other country, than all of Europe put together ×2.
So we have heard this statement by Trump a million times. I don't know why. I understand what he's saying, but he never seems to clarify. He always just kind of leaves it at, we have growing cases because we're doing more testing than anyone. Which, okay, I get it, that makes sense. But then the reporter or whoever he's speaking with will say, I'm not talking about the cases, I'm talking number of hospitalizations and I'm talking about number of deaths. Those are going up. So we don't even need to look at number of cases. Let's just look at hospitalizations and deaths. And then he ignores that and just keeps saying, we're doing more tests, we're doing more tests.
You know, there are those that say, you can test too much. You do know that.
Who says that?
Oh, just read the manuals, read the books.
Manuals?
Read the
What
books.
manuals?
I mean, it's like a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode. Read the manuals and read the books. What books? You know, a lot of people say you can do too much testing. Who says that? And then he just says something else and just moves on to the next thing.
Read the books.
What books?
What testing does.
Who- no, I'm
is
sorry,
it just, wait a minute,
who
John.
said-
Let me explain. Nobody's done it like we've done it. We've gotten absolutely no credit for it, but we've come up with so many different tests. The only thing that we have now is some people have to wait longer than we'd like them to.
It's a big problem.
When I took over, we didn't even have a test.
So when this interview came out, I saw a headline that said something like, Trump complains that Obama didn't leave him a COVID test when he left or something. And I assumed it was fake news because there was another clip, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago, where Trump was in an interview and I think he made some comment about, he made some comment that sounded like he was blaming Obama for the coronavirus, but I'm almost positive that he was speaking about the swine flu, but he just didn't say swine flu. I think he was trying to say, like, during their pandemic, they did this, and you didn't say anything, and during my pandemic, you're giving me crap about it for doing the same thing that Obama did. Well, the media ran with it and just said, like, he thinks that COVID-19 existed when Obama did. And when I watched it, I thought, that's not fair at all. I don't think that's what he was saying. I really feel like that's what he's saying here. Let's back up. If I am wrong, please let me know. I'm going to back up so everybody can hear this.
With so many different tests, the only thing that we have now is some people have to wait longer than we'd like them to.
It's a big problem.
When I took over, we didn't even have a test. Now, in all fairness,
why would you have a test?
There was no test.
The virus
for
didn't
this.
exist.
Because we are so much better at testing than any other country in the world, we show more cases. Right here, the United States is lowest in numerous categories. We're lower than the world.
I understand that there are many Trump fans watching right now, but you just please be honest, and you can say, like, he does some good things and he does some bad things. He does some smart things, he does some really dumb things. Like, what is he doing right now? Is Trump trying to deceive us and this reporter, or is Trump so ignorant that he believes that we are lowest in the world? And look at the stat that Trump shows this guy, and thank goodness this guy actually looked at it and read and called him out on this, because this is ridiculous. I'll go back again.
Cases. Right here, the United States is lowest in numerous categories. We're lower than the world.
Lower than
We're
the
lower
world?
than, here's case death.
Oh, you're doing death as a proportion of cases. I'm talking about death as a proportion of population. That's where the US is really bad. Much worse than South Korea, Germany, etc.
You can't do that. You have
Why can't I do that?
You have to go by. You have to go by where. Look, here is the.
Is this not insane? I mean, I have tried to be fair to Trump for some things. I try to be fair with everything with Trump. I feel like if he does something that I think is reasonable, I have no problem saying like, oh yeah, I'm on board with that. Like, I don't really like him as a person, but okay, yeah, like I think he would do that, or I think maybe, and I don't even consider myself to be a Democrat, but maybe the Democrats would have done the exact same thing, or they would have done it but worse. Like, I've said many things like that throughout this coronavirus journal thing. What is he talking about right now? It's like he gets called out for this bogus thing. It's like deaths per number of positive cases. Who even cares about that number? That's ridiculous. You could either say that's low because we're doing tons of tests, and maybe that's what Trump is trying to say, or you could say that hospitals are better here, or we have learned more about medication that can make the symptoms less severe. But what in the world? And the second he gets called out, he just goes to another chart. I'll back up again.
Really bad. Much worse than South Korea, Germany, etc.
You can't do that. You have
Why
to go.
can't I do that?
You have to go by. You have to go by where. Look, here is the United States. You have to go by the cases. The cases.
Why not as a proportion of population? Look at South Korea, for example. 51 million population, 300 deaths. It's like, it's crazy.
You don't know that.
I do. It's on
You
the.
don't know that.
You think they're faking their statistics? South Korea,
I
an
won't
advanced
get into
country.
that because I have a very good relationship
Yeah.
with the country. But you don't know that. But you're not reporting it correctly, Jonathan.
I think I am, but yeah, we do more tests.
No, wait a minute. Well, don't we get credit for that?
If hospital rates were going down and deaths were going down, I'd say terrific. You deserve to be praised for
Well, they
testing,
don't
but they're
even-
all going up.
they very rarely talk.
60,000 Americans are in hospital.
If you watch the
1,000
news or
dying a
read the
day.
papers, they usually talk about new cases, new cases, new cases.
I'm talking about death.
But you have to look at this. This is the number of tests compared
I
to the
don't
rest
deny
of
your
the world.
figures. You've done more tests by far than the rest of
Right.
them. I don't
And
deny
because
that.
we've done more tests, we have more cases.
Why? The dude just said, I don't care about the cases. I'm not talking about the cases. I'm talking about deaths in this instance. Why does Trump keep doing this? And who is falling for, who sees Trump acting like this and they're like, that's a great leader and like he's got this under control. The biggest Trump fan in the world should be like, hey man, just answer the question. Obviously the guy's talking about deaths. He's not talking about number of cases or number of tests. We don't need to show these weird sheets of paper with these PowerPoint presentations. Let's just admit that like, hey, we're not doing as good as other countries that had stricter lockdowns or more people wore masks. Let's just come out and say it. I don't understand why he keeps pretending like he doesn't understand or he doesn't hear. It's so weird.
You have
can take
more
it back.
advantage.
Check it out. at
Mr.
your
President, different subject.
That's the end. That's the end of that subject. It goes on and he talks about other insane things, but it's not related to the virus, so I will keep it out of the coronavirus journal here. We've got some super chats. Let me read these. Leonard says, the info about the Oklahoma governor came out before Cain's death. Interesting. Okay, yeah. I guess it wasn't a big deal because maybe the governor was totally fine. Merlin says, look up GOP fronts pro-Trump doctors on Google, same docs. Look up GOP fronts pro-Trump doctors on Google. Don't fully know what that means, and I can't look it up while I'm live, but somebody else feel free. Brad, I couldn't help but yell at my iPad towards Trump in frustration of his statements. Also, could we get Patrick's status update? Good seeing you again. Yeah, so Patrick, I'm trying to remember what we told you guys. He is still in Charleston, South Carolina. We have decided to renovate our old studio in Charleston. Patrick bought this house with a rundown daycare as a separate building behind his house. It's like a separate structure in his backyard which has been our office for years. And we renovated it really cheaply. So we painted the walls, we put a bathroom in, we put carpet in, but it was just always kind of gross, and it never really was outfitted for what we needed. So Patrick has gone through everything. He's sold most of the gear that we have in Charleston, cleared everything out, and I think interior demolition is going to start soon. And I don't think he's going to be there for the whole demolition. Maybe he'll be there for the beginning of it. And then we got to get the permits and everything to rebuild the inside. I think the issue is because this structure is so strange and it encroaches on his neighbor's backyard. But the property lines have been redrawn. It's historic downtown Charleston. He's got all these rules and stuff that he has to abide by. So they have to do these crazy permits to change this structure, even though we're making it nicer. So he's just been dealing with that, and that's why he is not down in Puerto Rico. Photog Mike is in the house. Lee, COVID has made us buddies. We both now have a magic 8-ball head. We'll email for shaving advice. So why COVID? Is this a joke? Is this medication? Has something made your hair fall out? My best advice for shaving heads is if you just go on Amazon and type in head shaver, this shaver will come up with 5 heads. It's this little like 8-ball size shaver with 5 little heads here. It's cheap. It's like $50, and I'm telling you, it's like 20 times better at shaving my head than any other shaver I've used. And I have purchased very expensive electric shavers. None of them work like this cheap one. So that is my best advice to all the bald men out there. Merlin says, in May, the Trump campaign was looking for doctors to back him on hydroxychloroquine and reopening. AP did an article on it. Okay, interesting. Yeah, it's so weird. It's so strange that, one, Trump would say that this medication works, and then because he said it, the left has to then not only say that it doesn't work, but they have to say that it's killing people. But then when you look into it, it's like, oh, this drug is sold over the counter in many countries around the world for very common illnesses, and people take it prophylactically, is that the word? Before they even have anything. Every day for decades they've been taking it. It's an incredibly safe drug, even safer than, Tylenol. And so I feel like the left has gone too far with it. And then Trump, why wouldn't Trump just let it go? Why, if it is true, I have friends who have read the medical tests about hydroxychloroquine. And I've got one friend who, he's very angry about the whole thing because he's like, it's been proven, it doesn't work. Let's just leave it to malaria patients and move on. We don't need to talk about it anymore. But Trump just can't do that. And then the Republicans too. So I don't know. But at the same time, I want to say that if there's a chance it works and it's not harming people, then like, who cares? What's the harm? Give it to them with some zinc. But gosh, it's like this political thing now. It's so weird. Steve Robertson's back in the house. Mr. Moneybags himself. Thank you very much. Good to see you doing well. Good to see you doing well too, Steve. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you. Photog Mike says, CDC put out a statement that the side effects of COVID is losing all your hair. It sucks, but I'd rather be alive and bald than dead with a full head of hair. It sounds like you're being serious right now, Photog Mike. I have not heard anything like that. That's now I got to look into that for the next episode. That's wild if that's true. And I am truly sorry because this is a very sad and depressing life. What's next? Okay. I've picked on Trump. I've picked on the right. Let's pick on the left a little bit now. Let's talk about the unemployment bonus payment of $600 per week that the federal government's paying. It's apparently over 50% of Americans are currently making more on unemployment with state money plus this federal government money than they were when they had jobs. And people on the left keep I think they're pretending, or they are dumb, that paying people more not to work, they act like it doesn't incentivize people to not work. I've heard many people on the left be like, what do you mean? People want to work. People are dying to get back to work. They have to have this money to survive right now. And you're like, what? They need to have more money than they make working? Yes, they need that to survive right now. But what's going to make them want to go back and get a job if they're getting paid more not to work? They're dying to get back to work, but we can't have them go back to work when it's dangerous to work. So we just need to pay them more right now, which is so insane to me. We're going to get into the money printing and the modern monetary theory in a second. But here's a clip. I'll just play a little bit of this clip. This is very frustrating to me.
Is the president supportive or not? Does he think the millions of unemployed Americans need that additional $600 a week right now? Or do you continue to think, as you've argued before, it's a disincentive for people to go back to work?
Well, I think it is a disincentive to go back to work. We would, if we could, move it down very slowly and step by step. And that's something that we've all said publicly. That's something in the negotiations. Whether he has executive authority to change that, Poppy, remains to be seen. Some of the lawyers think he does. So we'll get back on that.
Can I ask you why, Larry,
do you
think? Why do you think it's a disincentive for people to go back to work? What?
Why is this even a question? Why would getting paid more money to do anything not incentivize you to do the thing to get you more money? This is the craziest conversation, and she doesn't leave it alone. He doesn't really do a good job of answering the question directly. He should have just been like, because we're human beings and we'd like to have more money. That's the answer to this stupid question. But she then comes back and hits him again. I'll play this and then I'll fast forward a little bit and I'll see if I can get her the second time.
What evidence do you have?
Well, look, what evidence?
Yeah.
I mean, the University of Chicago said 2/3 of the people now have higher unemployment than
2/3. 66% of Americans make more money sitting at home. They don't have to pay for the gas and the wear and tear of their car to drive to work, and they still make more
benefits than their wage.
Did I record another one? I didn't. I cut it right there. I cut it a little early. But basically, he talks for a bit more, and then she's like, but I spoke to the person at the university that did that study, and he says that the study simply shows that people are making more, but it doesn't show that it incentivizes or disincentivizes people to do anything at all. So what makes you say? I just wish people could be a little bit more intellectually honest, use common sense. And Trump is the first person on the list, but then when I see stuff like that, I'm like, of course it incentivizes people to sit at home. And it's both of those people. I mean, her, maybe she does have a ton of employees if she's like a big news anchor or whatever. I'm not exactly sure how those businesses work, but I have a lot of friends that own businesses. All of them are telling me that they have trouble getting their employees to come back. Even if they pay more than the unemployment pays, when you have to consider all of the extra expenses that go in, plus 40 hours a week of work, most people would rather make a little bit less money and be on an unlimited vacation. So of course it incentivizes people to sit at home. And I've also learned that here in Puerto Rico, where the average wage is much lower than in any of the 50 states, they are also getting the $600 a week bonus here, which people are speculating will be detrimental to this island. In some cases, people are making double. Maybe I actually know a few cases where they're making much more than double. But potentially the average person in Puerto Rico who's on unemployment is making double what they normally make working. And I have people on both sides, friends who are refusing to go back to work because they want the unemployment. And then I have friends here that own businesses who can't get their employees to come back to work. And I've spoken to both of them. And obviously, it's common sense. If you get paid double to not work, that is what you will choose to do. So there has been a lot of debate recently. Let me catch up on these super chats real quick. Photog Mike says 100% serious on the no hair thing. No need to be sorry, but thanks. Man, that is so weird. Why haven't we heard anything about that? I feel like a lot of people would take it a lot more seriously if they knew they could go bald by getting the virus. They're like, oh yeah, dying, sure. But wait, I'm gonna go bald? I'm gonna have to look like Lee? I'm gonna stay inside, I'm gonna wear a mask. Logan says, crypto is going to the moon again. Everybody is worrying about COVID and the orange man and defund the police. Meanwhile, billionaires are about to be made. Maybe so. I got a little bit of Bitcoin. I got a little bit of Ethereum. I have been very hesitant to put a large percentage of my net worth into crypto. It just all seems kind of like a Ponzi scheme to me, especially because right now it's still so difficult to actually buy things with cryptocurrencies. But down here in Puerto Rico, I have a lot of super serious crypto people. Like, I have a few friends here that 100% of their net worth is wrapped up in crypto. And no, they didn't get rich by buying crypto, for pennies and then riding it up. They just work within the industry and they have decided to invest all of their money in crypto because they truly believe it is the future. And I don't know. I mean, when you see the spending that's going on, maybe crypto isn't. Maybe I should put more money into crypto. I just keep expecting another gigantic crash, and I expect crypto to crash hard with the economy, and I'll probably buy in then. But I could be wrong. Maybe the economy is going to crash and crypto is going to moon forever, and it'll be the biggest mistake of my life, other than my Tesla short position, which I still am holding because I have balls of steel, and I know Tesla's going back down. Robert says, from the UK, your voice of reason in this madness. Well, thank you very much, Robert. I'm trying to be reasonable. So back to the unemployment. There's been a lot of debate and argument about what they should do because, as I understand it, I could be wrong about this, I believe you pay unemployment taxes or premiums when you work. That goes to your state. And then I believe when you lose your job, I thought you get 50% of your income from the state. And then the federal government has been giving people an additional $600 per week. And that's if you have a relatively low paying job. I mean, $600 a week extra could be huge. And so there's been a debate, like, should we lower it? Should we keep it at $600 a month? I can't believe that Republicans have agreed to the additional $600 a month. It seems crazy. But maybe economists would say we have to do this to keep the economy on life support while we battle this virus, and we'll deal with the issues later, but the monetary issues that we have later are going to be much easier to deal with than 35% of America being homeless because they can't afford rent or whatever, the problem might be. So I understand that. It doesn't make any sense to me that you should make more money. I think everybody should struggle a little bit in this time. That's kind of the whole point of being at war or going through a pandemic. You shouldn't be living better during these times. We should all be helping each other, and we should be getting through this. So I'm against paying people more, but I believe that they have just come to a agreement at $400 per month extra from the federal government, but it's not quite that clear. So let me play this quick clip, and it'll give you a little bit of insight.
Essentially, here's what we know. We know that Americans, up until those talks stalled, were getting $600 a week from the federal government, in addition to whatever they were getting from the states. And this, of course, was for unemployment. President Trump saying, well, now you're going to get $400. But it's not that simple. It's not as though tomorrow people are going to start getting checks for $400. And in fact, some experts believe that most Americans, or many unemployed Americans, will never see these benefits. And here is why. President Trump is actually only offering $300 in federal assistance. He is saying that the states have to chip in the extra 25%, which is, of course, $100. Now, as we know, as we've been reporting, these states are in economic shambles, many of them completely wrecked by the coronavirus. They are asking themselves for federal money for help. So whether or not they're going to be able to chip in that $100, as Larry Kudlow put it, it really remains up in the air. But here's the catch. If they don't sign on to a financial agreement with the White House, then no one in the state who needs the money gets any of the money.
So that's very interesting. I don't know why the federal government would do this, because the states, and again, I'm not an economist, I'm sure there's details of this that I don't understand, but the states don't have the ability to just print money like the federal government, and the states have record low income from everybody staying at home, not working, not paying these taxes, not going out and buying things and paying sales tax. So where is this money supposed to be coming from? And I've watched a few other video clips that I haven't put in this. And they were just saying that many of these states are completely broke as it is right now. And many of the red states who don't believe that it's good to pay people more money to be unemployed might choose not to do this even if they did have the $100 per week per person. I don't know what the answer is, but this just all seems so crazy to me. I mean, it seems crazy to pay people more money to not work, but then now to force the states to pay money that they don't have when the federal government is printing money at a record pace. I don't get it. I do not get it. Let's talk quickly about the GDP decline, because those numbers have come in, and it's insane, as you can imagine.
Well, on top of all of that, just a devastating indicator of how painful this pandemic has been for the U.S. economy. We just learned this morning U.S. economic growth shrank 32.9% in the second quarter. That is by far the largest quarterly drop since record-keeping began in 1947. This, as millions of unemployed Americans will lose their $600 a week additional aid tomorrow.
So this was recorded previously before the $400 thing just came about.
Congress has failed yet again to reach a deal. With me now, Margaret Anadou.
You get the idea. So, yeah, the worst economic decline in U.S. history. And I've seen other videos that say it's worse than the Great Depression. Great Depression had like 29% decline. That hit 32.9% decline. Here's a clip about the restaurant industry.
Bloomberg reporting that nearly 1/3 of U.S. restaurants could close permanently by the end of the year, hitting every state, every city, and every neighborhood. Zoom in on New York City, where more than 2,800 small businesses have already done so, with more than 80% of restaurants and bars not paying their full rent in the month of June. This comes along with a new plea from the Independent Restaurant Coalition urging Congress to pass the Restaurant Act, which would create a $120 billion grant to help keep independent restaurants alive.
So, I mean, the restaurant industry here in Puerto Rico is completely decimated. The mayor here, or governor, whatever she is, keeps doing these weird arbitrary lockdown rules like, oh, you can do this on this day and not on this day, but at this time it's okay, but after 7 p.m. alcohol is not allowed unless it's Saturday, then it is, but Sunday never. And the restaurant industry, it has just been destroyed. One, because many of the restaurants are indoors and people just don't feel comfortable, but the other thing is just these crazy rules and everything. And then the big one is this unemployment thing. In Puerto Rico, you can make significantly more money going on unemployment than working at a restaurant, and so no one wants to be a server. So many of the restaurants are still shut down. The ones that are opened up might only be open up a few days a week for short hours. Alcohol sales, which I'm sure are a big percentage of their profit, are stopping at like 6:30 or 7 p.m. or something when people really want to start drinking. So things are really bad here in Puerto Rico. And then, of course, you know, the tourism has been destroyed as well. But I was back in the States, and, you know, Charleston, South Carolina, where I'm from, is like the food capital of the South. It's got amazing restaurants. And some of the restaurants were certainly open, and there were some people eating in there, but it is nothing like it used to be. I don't know if I would say half the restaurants seem to be closed. I mean, a lot of the restaurants were still boarded up from the Black Lives Matter protests where they were breaking windows and stuff months ago. They're still boarded up. And then we would go to some of our favorite restaurants that would normally be packed, and there'd be like 20 people in the restaurant when normally there would be hundreds of people in the restaurant. So I don't know how that works when, you know, the real estate, the rent costs on King Street are tens of thousands of dollars a month for some of those places. I don't know how you can afford to pay for that when people aren't coming in and buying food. So that was saying that 33% of all restaurants will have closed permanently by the end of the year. Wild. One other thing that's been strange, this isn't really related to COVID, but I have a clip here, so I'll quickly show it, is this TikTok thing. So in case you're completely out of the loop, TikTok is this app that children use that I will never use. And it's China-owned or China-controlled or something, and they're stealing privacy information, details from all of these cell phone users. So Trump said, I'm going to ban TikTok from the United States. And TikTok has been banned from other countries, I believe. But then he was like, oh, or Microsoft can buy TikTok, but they have 45 days to do it. Oh, and by the way, Microsoft needs to pay the United States like a huge sum of money for this. Watch this.
Overnight on TikTok. But I want to understand fully what this would mean here. The president said earlier this week that a potential takeover of TikTok by an American company would have to include, quote, a substantial amount of money coming to the U.S. Treasury. Why would a U.S. company pay the U.S. government to acquire TikTok? I don't get it.
I don't think that was the thrust of his remarks.
Okay,
I'm
quote,
not sure
a very
exactly.
substantial portion of that price is going to have to come into the Treasury of the United States because we're making it possible for this to happen. I asked because the Wall Street Journal editorial board says the president's bluster about a finder's fee sends the wrong message about America's rule of law and its openness in foreign investment. It's a big.
Is this not creepy to conservatives out there who want free and open markets? Is this not really creepy that the president of the United States is just going to be like, hey, I don't like that company, so I'm going to ban them which forces the value to go down. And then, by the way, one of the most valuable companies in our country, yeah, you can buy it, but you got to give us a huge finder's fee for what we're doing for you, for, you know, forcing the price down on this company. This is weird stuff, isn't it? This is stuff that you'd think about, you know, hearing China doing or something. I don't know. This doesn't make me comfortable. Like, I definitely see myself as more of a conservative. This doesn't seem like a conservative standing on free market at all.
Big deal to hear the president say that, no?
I have not spoken to him directly about that. I will say he may have been thinking about the work done by the Treasury. He may have been thinking that the government's actions are increasing the valuation of TikTok if it splits off on its own or is purchased by Microsoft or someone else. That is not the key point that he's making. Is number one, as matters stand now, TikTok will not be permitted unless they get out from under their holding company. Number two, he's given them 45 days to run through very tightly strenuous review by Treasury and Commerce and other agencies to see that they can act on their own or as part of Microsoft or some other private bidder, so that the information problem where the Chinese Communist government comes in and will essentially steal personal information or government information will be solved. It may be solved, but that's why we're having a 45-day review. That is the intent of his remarks on that.
But he's not going to mandate getting a check for the deal, right?
I don't want to pass judgment on any part of this deal. Talk to me sometime in the middle of next month, and we'll be able to review it.
It's something else that's insane that's going on right now. I don't have any problem, like, if it, you know, if it's a national security thing, sure. If we need to ban it, ban it. But finder's fees, it's weird. Let's see. We can end on a little bit of positive news here. The vaccine, as I understand it, is doing great. And not just the vaccines in the United States, but vaccines all around the world are moving into this phase 3 trial, which is, I believe, the last step, I think. Here's a quick clip on, I believe, Moderna.
We want to begin tonight with a huge leap forward in the development of a vaccine against coronavirus. Volunteers all across the country, including a member of our own CBS News family, began getting shots today as part of the final phase of testing for an experimental vaccine being developed by the NIH and the drug company Moderna. Tens of thousands of Americans are needed for the trial, and test sites are spread out across the South and West, which continue to be hard hit by the virus. Tonight, Florida.
You get the idea. And also, I think China's got theirs and Russia's got theirs. And so I was very skeptical. I didn't think that we would be able to do it this quickly. But it really seems like we are. So that's great news. Now, I don't know the details. How long is it going to take to produce them? Who's going to get them first? How long will it take before enough people have it in the United States that you can really go back to normal? The other question, of course, is how many people in the United States will refuse to take it, and then how badly could that potentially mess things up? You know, if we're going for herd immunity with the vaccine, could there be an issue there? Sorry, I'm seeing that we're having some buffering issues. If you pause, guys, just for a second, then it should catch up in just a few seconds. But we're almost done here. Paul says, I guarantee, Lee, that you're not struggling. No, I am not struggling. But at the same time, I am making less money than I did when the world was open for business. So in that sense, I am struggling. I have obvious savings and everything. So I will be good for quite a while. But if all of a sudden I started making more money from the government during coronavirus pandemic, I would think something is very, very wrong. Photog Mike says, CNN reporting that New York Times has a story that Trump contacted South Dakota about being put on what? CNN reporting that New York Times has a story that Trump contacted South Dakota about being put on Mount Rushmore. normally I would say, well, obviously that can't be true. But with Trump, it seems like something that would be true. Obviously, I don't want to spread fake news, but it could be true. We are now reaching 59%. Oh, I missed a couple super chats back up here. Let's see. Paul says, Lee, I've worked as a photographer for 10 years. I don't take the unemployment payment because I choose to take it. But because I have to. Sometimes you come off as entitled. I'm not calling you out at all specifically, Paul. I'm not saying that you have to take anything or don't have to take anything. I'm arguing from the perspective of the policy itself. Is it a smart decision to pay people more money to not work than to work? I don't think it's a good decision for the future. Obviously, if we could give people money without any sort of repercussions, then I would want everybody to be a multimillionaire. I would want everyone to just get millions of dollars all the time and they can buy whatever they want whenever they want. But I believe that by doing that, one, you're incentivizing people not to work now. So when employers need to hire people back and they're not available, they either have to start training somebody from the beginning, or they have to shut down their business, many of the restaurants here, because they can't actually get the employees that they need. Now, fast forward a few months from now, or a year or two from now, when the pandemic is over with, I think we're going to feel the repercussions of people not working long into the future from now. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I hope I'm wrong about that. The other thing that I think we're going to feel is I think we're going to feel an issue of inflation and a massive economic crash in the future because of the money that we're doing today. So I am not faulting anyone for taking the money. I would take the money. If there was a policy that gave me money, I would take the money. I've paid into it. I've paid taxes and everything. I am faulting the policy itself. I think it is a poor policy. I think paying people money in these horrible times, unemployment, is put in place for this very reason. But unemployment doesn't pay you 100% of what you were making, and it doesn't pay you forever because they don't want to incentivize people not to go out and look for a job. I'm currently almost about to fill up my cash here. I'm going to go to a talk for a little bit for this cash to catch up. Steve Robertson says, Lee, have you heard that the payroll tax reduction will have to be repaid if it actually gets implemented? I have not heard that at all. So the other thing, if I understand what Steve is talking about here, the other thing that Trump is doing is he is removing the employees' part of their payroll taxes from each paycheck. But those payments are what pay for, as I understand it, unemployment, Medicare, Social Security. And so people are saying, uh-oh, I have reached full cash. I don't know what's going to happen at this point. I'm on a black screen. Hopefully this is going to end up all right, but okay. I know you guys can't see this, but I can see a cash on my screen and it's like ticking up, 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 up. And it's reached full. And so when it's reached full, it's unable to save anymore and slowly send it over to YouTube. So I'm getting really slow internet here. I'm on a black screen. It should be audio only. It should be very easy to upload this, but my internet just sucks. So I apologize, guys, if you're not hearing any of this right now. Let's see, anything else? Yeah, so I haven't heard anything about it having to be repaid. I even heard Trump say that if he's reelected, he'll get rid of that payroll tax forever, which people are saying Trump is basically talking about abolishing Social Security, which obviously makes no sense. So I don't know what to think with that, and I don't know anything about the repayment. I haven't heard that. Logan says, did I miss to talk about Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr.? I don't even know when that fight's supposed to happen. So I am somewhat interested. I mean, I've seen some footage of of Tyson training. He looks good, so maybe it could be a fun fight. But I watched the Liddell versus Tito Ortiz fight a few months back, and man, that was depressing. That was depressing. All right, so our cache is clear again. I'm back in, but I don't think I have anything else to cover. That wraps up this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. I don't know if I'm going to do this again in the next few days or not, and I don't know when Patrick's going to be back, but make sure you subscribe. This is a brand new YouTube channel, and I will be back live maybe tomorrow to do the next Critique the Community. So I will see you guys then. And I was thinking about just hitting end, but I probably should play the outro. I'll see you next time, guys.